What's up guys, ZiSotto here, and these are the patch notes for patch 5.7. Drop the beat. We will not have a new guard in this patch, but the new guard will be announced this week on Friday. As far as I understand it, apparently in written form first or something, but we'll get to that then. For now, we're going through the patch notes. The patch notes still come with new skins and balancing and everything else. Quick look at the skins as usual and then focus on the balance. So these are the new skins in overview. I'm gonna click on them quickly. We got a Raven skin, Raven. Basically the typical DJ skins that we have so far with Ganesh has the special emote and stuff as well. And the kind of, electronic voice pack. I will say it doesn't really live up to Eliminator, but no surprise there. Very high-pitched voice as well. Then there is a new Odin skin, an Odin Paladin skin, which is, in my opinion, the coolest skin in this patch. It actually has wings when he leaps. So if he leaps forwards, he gets wings similar to Tyr in one of his, I think it's Dragon Knight skin. Only that Odin leaps a lot more often, and I think this looks really, really cool. And the rest of the animation has this nice blue golden as well. Then there is an Ardio skin, Kawaii Ardio. She turns into a huge plush bear and has a typical kawaii voice pack and everything, if you're into that. Then we have Ra Exe. Ra Exe is, well, it's another Ra skin that kind of looks like Sunstar, which kind of looks like, well, any other Ra skin, to be honest. It has the typical, Mercury style effects of these robot skins, data skins, whatever they're called. Yeah, I don't think this one will be too popular, but well. Then there's a Mixer Skadi skin. It's almost a default Skadi skin. There's two little changes. One is her shirt having the Mixer logo and her 3 having a huge Mixer logo and use it as well. And that's pretty much it. And then there is Odin's new gold skin. So the cool thing about the Odin skin in this context as well, I think it should show up here. No, it doesn't. Is that it's the spring or summer split season ticket skin that you get with the season ticket, which I think is a really cool skin to get with that. Reason for me to get that. We will have a ranked reset. The first split is over, and as such, there will be a soft reset as usual. There are some changes though. We have also made some adjustments for the split with where we place players after qualifying. Previously, we would place someone quite a bit lower than our estimated MMR matchmaking division for them, giving them room to improve themselves. After reviewing where players qualify to and how they are spread around all the ranks, we are reducing how much lower we place players. That means players will qualify much closer to our estimated MMR and will qualify higher than previous splits. So soft reset and adjustments to placing after qualifying. That probably means that we'll see a lot more people placing around gold initially instead of silver. Like usually the majority of players would end up in silver, especially after a hard reset, but even after soft reset, many would go from platinum to silver, from gold to silver. And now they will start in gold and not have that grind up from there anymore. And then obviously place depending on their division. So it should be centered about the middle more, from what I'm expecting, at least from what it sounds like. Deathmarks were created to provide a new and unique type of reward for the Inner Demon Arena. These items were intended to be a fun way to leave your signature on the battleground. Enemies and allies can roam the map and see the remnants of previous battles. As we implement this new feature, we want to make sure that deathmarks don't accumulate to the point where that they are distracting or obscuring other important information. For this reason, we are decreasing the duration, and that's from 60 seconds to 30 seconds. Now, obviously, this is due to most of the people in the community not even liking them at all and not wanting them. But at the same time, Hi-Rez obviously doesn't want to remove them because they still make them money in a way. Or will eventually, at least, because they can put them into chests and whatnot. So, I guess 30 seconds is what we're getting. I think team fighting can still be distracting. When there's one mark on the ground, it will be distracting for as long as it's there. It doesn't affect me personally too much, but I know it does affect many others. I just wish they didn't have them in the game in the first place. But I guess this is as far as a compromise will go here. Awesome Chest gets Fiendish Flight Jingwei and Fiendish Rage Kukulin from the previous. Basically, they were just in an event and now they're in a chest, which is interesting to me. But well, Godlike Chest gets Freaky Tiki Apuash, Gemini Agni, and Nature's Guardian Ram. And in the Fantasy Point store, we now have Luna Tango Changa, Earl Wubert Sung Kong Frey Sun Wukong, and Ordo Solaris Amaterasu. Then there are new cosmetics. There's a Mixer Ward skin, Mixer Avatar, so all kinds of stuff towards Mixer. Drop the Beat Avatar, Ultra Energy Loading skin, Kawaii Recall skin, Kawaii Kitten Jump Stamp, Emoji in Fountain FX, and Peace Global Emote. I really don't know what Emoji in Fountain is, and I don't know if I want to know. But oh well. We have 2 new announcer packs, and I think one of them could be really cool, and that's the Ganesh announcer pack. The other one is the Raver announcer pack, probably part of the season ticket, and I think the Ganesh announcer pack could be like somewhat similar to the Capri one in its style, with Ganesh's voice and his lines. That could be cool. I think that could be one that I'm looking forward to, because I really don't like most announcer packs, and I have hope for this one. We haven't heard yet though. There's a Bollywood music theme as well. I think this goes along with the Raven skin. The Inner Demon Arena actually gets some changes. The Inner Demon Arena Titan base HP are increased from 1,500 to 2,500, which is good because those things were just popped way too quickly, so that makes sense. And the respawn timer is decreased from 20 seconds to 10 seconds, so even more fighting going on. Good. I think, once again, these changes are more like testing the waters for the normal arena and how that can be changed. Recommended builds have been updated. Thor, Ymir, Guan Yu, Neith, Ra, Mercury, Hunbat's Nemesis, Osiris, Erlangshe, and Bellona. I think a lot of them actually had Hunter's Blessing as their starter items, the solo laners, and that was probably removed now. Bug fixes. Fixed an issue where the CC immunity duration was different on different ranks of his ultimate ability, without a name. Luckily, through Flare Boot, we know that this is Sylvanas. Fixed an issue where Thanatos could get into a state where he couldn't attack or can't attack jungle camps. Fix an issue where Aragorn's ultimate would not work properly if you consumed multiple potions while firing it. Who would do that? Fix an issue where enemies could jump over Gap's shockwave to avoid damage. Fix an issue where Hachiman's Heavenly Banner ability could hit areas outside of the targeted area. Very good. Didn't realize that was a thing, but that is definitely annoying. Fix an issue where Ram's Astral Arrow self-buff could apply item effects that trigger off of abilities. Basic attack self-buffs do not trigger ability item passives. And console fix some circumstances where players could not be able to accept match Q-pops. And that brings us to the item balance. The first one here is Talisman of Energy. Talisman of Energy is a weird item. Talisman of Energy has, I think at the moment it's 50 magical defense and 300 health, which is quite good for its price and everything, but it's also not that good when you put it like next to hardwood. You really have to make use of the passive for it to have the same effectiveness. And now it gets an increase of 10 magical protection from 50 to 60. And I think Talisman of Energy, it has room. It was actually built in the SPL. It's not a terrible item. The problem really is that the effect is minion dependent. And I've talked about minion dependency in the past and how bad it is that certain guards are so minion dependent, as it's, for example, the case for Bakasura, and how these guards often don't work as well as they should in theory based on their minion dependency, because in late game minions just get wiped so quickly and are often not present. And that's the same thing with the Talisman. Now, what you can do with this Talisman is, if you had a lead, you can siege a structure very well, because when you know there's a mini wave coming up, you'll just wait until the mini wave comes and then get the passive from that and go in and engage right after that. But that also telegraphs to the enemy team when you're going to engage, if they realize that. So I think it's an interesting item. I think it's an item to keep an eye on. The stats are not terrible, and I think it can be built in some situations, but you really have to fit it in somehow. And I'm not sure if 10 magic protection is enough to do that. If it was like 20, I would say it would be a different story, because it would be able to compete a lot more with other magical defense items. Mace gets a price increase from 650 to 700. That's just so you can't build too many pots at the start if you start with this item. Basically a jungler nerf, and that's all. The Crusher, that one is the big one. Very understandable changes. Crusher has become a core item on many guards, even ones who don't build much power. It's cheap cost combined with the good base values. Let this fit into builds in nearly any scenario. We're increasing the cost and reducing the base damage of the damage over time. Players will now need to invest more into this item for it to really shine. And we have two nerfs here. We have the price increase from 2,300 to 2,400, and at the same time, the base damage per tick is reduced from 15 to 10, so 20 instead of 30. I think this was very needed. This was very overdue. I'm not sure why it took so long. Crusher was being built on every assassin in ESPL, and now there's a little more room for other items. Again, How much room is still open for debate. I think that the stats of Crusher are still very good in many regards because it still has this very good mix of stats that almost anyone can benefit from. And, well, 10 less damage per ability proc is a hit, but is it enough to take it out of the picture? I'm not sure. Same thing with Magi's Cloak. Magi's Cloak, Magi's Blessing, as it's called here, is an efficient combination of health, protections, and a strong passive. This makes it a powerful one-off item for squishy characters that makes them quite tanky. We are increasing the cost and reducing the total health provided to ensure it is still a strong pickup without being too potent. Increased cost from 2050 to 2150, decreased health from 350 to 300. This is interesting because if you look at this item over the past year or so, it actually was fine in the way it was, in the state it was in. And it's only recently that it's gotten more attention, basically with the shifting meta in the SPL, in the competitive level of play. And based on that, this nerf is happening. There's no other reason, really. And yeah, I can see where it's coming from. It was just way too popular on way too many characters. And in this case, much like with Crusher, I'm not so sure if that will change. But the hit here, I would say, is a bit harder. Because 50 health off and 100 price increase feels a bit harder as a hit than a little bit of a damage decrease instead. How much of an impact this will actually have is something that we'll just see over time based on how much is building competitive, because that's how it will drip down to the lower levels of play as well. And then we have guard balance. First one is Daji. Daji gets 2 nerfs. One is Horrible Burns, increased cooldown from 7 seconds to 9 seconds, which is a heavy nerf. And Trickster Spirit, decreased physical power scaling from 100% to 85%. And that is on top of the Crusher nerf, which is an absolute core item on Daji. If you're not building Daji with Crusher, then I don't know what you're doing. So, yeah. Daji is getting hit all around on her own base stats, on items, for a very significant amount, I would say. And I do believe that will affect her performance a fair bit, if not quite drastically. I don't think that Daji will hold the same value now with these reduced stats across the board and reduced damage. The output will just not be there to the same degree, which I guess is for the best, but yeah. I guess it's time to say RIP Daji. Somebody else also getting nerfs, somebody who's been performing very well, and that's Chimpazilla. Chimpazilla gets a nerf on the vampirism buff from 5% to 4%. Now, this only affects the passive. This is only the 5% that he automatically has. And apparently it was changed now, so it's now 3% instead. This is not up to date anymore, apparently. Apparently it's now a reduction down from 5% to 3%, so it's like 3%, and then with each of his passive stacks that he gets through his 2, he gets another 3% for each of them, so up to 12%, if it all works out properly. But yeah, it was just a little bit too much in the self-sustain department, especially because it also affected other heals on him. Devour. Decreased heal per hit from 15 to 55 to 10 to 50. Now, the big deal with this is that you can group up a lot of minions and then heal on the full wave. And that is still the case. And 5 is not going to take away much. And also, you have to keep in mind that this ability has 25% scaling per target too. So a huge chunk of the healing here is not even coming from the base value, but rather from the scaling. So I think he will be fine in that regard. The other nerf is a bit more heavy, in my opinion, and that is Bat Out of Hell. Bat Out of Hell decreased damage per hit from 120 to 300 to 100 to 280. And that, I think, is heavier because for 3 swings, that's quite a lot. That's 60 damage down. That's, well, depending on what rank we're talking, it's quite a significant chunk. And the first rank, we're talking 300 damage instead of 360 damage. I think that will definitely affect his, especially his early to mid-game kill potential quite a fair bit, and I think that nerf will hit him decently. I don't think that either of these nerfs will completely trash him, but I think it will put him a lot more in line with other guards, and I think others might be more favored over him again. Uller. The Hi-Rez admits that things were not okay yet nerf. Only 4, 5, I don't know how many months later. Uller's ability to combo his Thrown Axe into the rest of his kit gives him a strong early kill potential. You don't say. It allows him to bully opponents in lane. Oh, really? We are trimming a bit of power of Thrown Axe while reducing the scaling from Hail of Arrows. While a stun combo will still hurt, it won't be as devastating as usual. Although players will need to focus more on their follow-up after the combo to keep the pressure applied. Bladed Arrow and Thrown Axe. Decreased Thrown Axe physical power scaling from 70 to 65%. 5% scaling, not a lot. Decreased Thrown Axe base damage from 60 to 180 off 10 at all ranks. I don't know why they word that weirdly, but that should be like 50 to 170 then, as far as I understand it. So a little bit here, a little bit there, 5% off, 10 flat off, in combination with the previous nerf that we already had. And then also Hail of Arrows Glory Bound. Decreased Hail of Arrows physical power scaling from 110% to 100%. So total of 15% off, 10 flat off. But all of this will definitely like take a bit from his combo here, take a bit from his combo there, took a bit from his combo in the past already, putting him a little more in line with his burst, with other ability hunters, which is what everyone has been asking for ever since he got his buffs. Yeah, you know, it's not much to say there. It's just a little late. Janus gets shafted. Unstable Vortex, an ability that wasn't touched in God knows how long in terms of its cooldown, gets its cooldown increased from 8 seconds to 10 seconds. Decreased bonus damage from 20% to 15%. Threshold, decreased duration of the deployable from 3 to 7 seconds to 3 to 5 seconds. Janus is a god that I always thought was a bit weird because he has this huge amount of utility through especially the ultimate, but also through the threshold and through the one and this huge amount of mobility, and it was theoretically offset by the fact that he really only has one damaging ability outside of the ultimate that he can use reliably to attack people. But then at the same time, that ability always had such a short cooldown that it was like not as relevant as you think. Sure, he couldn't one-shot people as easily. He still could sometimes. But he could, or like one combo rather, but he could stay in a team fight very long, be mobile, very hard to catch, and you waste your energy chasing a Janus. But he could also put out damage very consistently throughout that fight, like easily 3 unstable vortex or more. And that with like extra cooldown reduction on top of that as well, you know, it's because he benefits from that in general. But now he's actually in a way worse spot than before in that regard, because exactly that is something he will be able to do less. He can still do it. I mean, it's not a 16-second cooldown, but it's a 10-second cooldown, which means that really his presence in a team fight or in any slightly drawn-out engagement will be lower, a fair bit lower, and I think that will hit him. And the fact that Threshold is nerfed at the same time, which is on higher levels of play a very heavily utilized strong tool, means he's getting hit everywhere. I think Janus is probably the hardest hit guard this patch, alongside with Daji, I would say. And yeah, this is a bit surprising to me. I think it's good. I think the cooldown on Unstable Vortex is a good thing and should have happened for a long time, but the Threshold nerf, all right, okay. Really don't like Janus. And then we have Kali. Kali, this guard that I always talk about, say that she needs buffs and no one ever listens. And here we are. We have a buff for Kali. I'm really happy. The buff is not exactly crazy, but it's also not exactly terrible. Decrease the duration of the deployable. Oh, wait, sorry. Yeah, no, that's the one where the text is wrong. So what this should actually say is that the cooldown of Lash is now always 12 seconds. I think it's down from, normally it's 15 to 11 seconds, depending on how much you level it. And now it's always 12 seconds, which helps her early clear significantly and also helps her early pressure a little bit, both in lane as well as in combat. And I think that's going to be very interesting because I think that will help Kali quite a fair bit. But at the same time, sorry about that, there's still the issue that Kali exists in the same universe as New Midgardian. New Midgardian absolutely demolishes Kali. So as long as your team is competent enough, or the enemy team rather, competent enough to buy that, you can lower the cooldown of Flash all you want. I don't think it's going to matter all too much. As long as you can zone her off your allies a little bit, or just throw Midgardian on everyone and just completely ignore Kali, but yeah, you get the idea. Not exactly going to make her OP or anything like that. And then we have Hades. Hades also gets a pretty good buff. Pretty crazy. Devour Souls no longer consumes Blight, meaning like his abilities in general don't consume Blight anymore, and he can just blight everyone and then use all of his abilities and, you know, have them applied and all the special effects and stuff. And decrease the cooldown from 15 to 11 seconds to 11 seconds at all ranks. And that's a lot more early pressure, and it's also early sustain at the same time. Hades' early game should actually be super annoying and scary now through that. And I really want to see that. I think Hades, this patch, probably has the biggest buff. And it's not unlikely to see a bit of a comeback after really haven't seen much of him in a while, just because of the pressure that he can build now, whether that be in solo or in mid lane. Poseidon, Tile Surge decreased, Tide Cost from 30 to 20. Yeah, okay, minor change. Release the Kraken, decreased Tide Cost from 50 to 30. So yeah, a little more tight for him, a little more giving him that tide effect more consistently. You're not burning all of it all the time. All right, not crazy, but might help. Bacchus, who apparently is now at the top, at the bottom with a B, but whatever. Belch of the Gods, increased damage from 20 to 80 to 25 to 85. I'm not quite sure how many ticks that ability has exactly. I think it's somewhere around 5-ish, 4 or 5-ish ticks. But yeah, should be a little bit of extra damage here and there. The more interesting part is healing reduction is now applied when Bacchus is at any level of his Drunkometer. It doesn't even have to stun anymore or anything. So yeah, he just has the healing reduction. And increase the duration of the healing reduction from 3 seconds to 4 seconds. So overall, bring in a fair bit more anti-heal utility to Bacchus. I think Bacchus is still in a strange place. Still this like damage guardian more than anything. I know he has more damage. I still don't know when we will actually see Bacchus anywhere, because he's got so many changes at this point where people thought, yeah, this is what's going to bring Bacchus out. This is where Bacchus actually, you know, gets his time to shine. And it's never really happened. But maybe this one helps a little bit. I don't think it's that one that will bring him like up to the top. But hey, he's a fun guy to play, so I'm not complaining anyways. And then we have the big question marks of this patch, which are Terra and Cerberus primarily. Maybe a little bit also Kukulkan. Kukulkan has been still performing super well, even on the highest level of play, and we've seen it a bunch now. And the people that were saying, oh yeah, it's just on your rank games, kind of, you know, have to slowly eat their own words, because even in the SPL, Kukulkan is dominant. Cerberus is very dominant with how he works now, and with him being easier to play, he's also very dominant at the casual level. And then we have Terra, who's just getting her own video in a few days. So yeah, I don't know why they're not being nerfed. I know why everything is like with more delay than it has to be. Basically, Uller/Crusher in a nutshell right there. Maybe not even so much Uller anymore, but rather Crusher and Chimpazilla in a nutshell. Yeah, things are going a little bit slower in Atlanta, I suppose. But at least most of the changes were good anyways. Most of the changes are changes I can get behind, I can understand. And that's the good part for me. And I'll be honest, and I'm sorry here, but I'm not going to miss Janos that much, because he's Janos and he's really annoying. And with that, thank you guys very much for watching. If you're new to the channel, feel free to click the sub button and maybe the bell. It really helps me out. See you for the next one tomorrow. DukeSloth out.